Hi, I'm Pat Kiernan. Good Thursday morning to you. Thank you for joining us for this edition of Pat's Papers. We go through the nation's newspapers every weekday to pick some of our favorites for you. Here's what we found for you today.
Let's start today with the president. Barack Obama submits a letter to the Washington Post today. We'll call it an op-ed for the op-ed page. He's making the case for Congress to move now with his $900 billion stimulus plan. The president says this is a choice between pulling together or letting Washington's bad habits stand in the way of progress. He writes, each day the nation waits on fixing the economy, more jobs, savings, and homes are lost. The major action from the president yesterday was the announcement that he is going to impose this $500,000 limit on the pay packages of top executives at any company accepting taxpayer bailouts in the future. The story on the front page of the Wall Street Journal notes this is not retroactive, so companies that have already accepted billions can keep paying their $20 million CEO salaries, as long as they don't ask for any more money. How's this story playing across the country? In the St. Petersburg Times, it's at the top of page 1, but in other papers, it's nowhere to be seen on the front page. I pulled up the South Bend Tribune to illustrate that. The Chicago Tribune's columnist, Greg Burns, says the real answer on executive pay may not be a cap, but rather something to incent long-term performance. The common belief regarding the current financial crisis is that oversized short-term pay led a lot of people to make bad decisions. Don't touch that dial, at least not for a few months, with fears that some Americans would have to live without television. The House voted to postpone the transition to digital TV until June 12th. It's interesting to see how this story plays from one market to the next. Barely mentioned as I read some of the New York papers this morning. Compare that to the Daily Advertiser in Louisiana, where it was the big story on the front page. They must have been waiting for the New York Post to publish this headline. At the bottom of the front page, the list of Madoff investment victims is the swindlers list. As I've been telling you, there are about 13,000 names on the list. The Post has a link on its website, although the list doesn't actually estimate who lost how much in the $50 billion mess. Washington Post columnist Dana Milbank has an interesting profile of the man who tried to blow the whistle on Madoff. Harry Markopolos was testifying yesterday to lawmakers looking into the case. The column in the Post notes the stinging words Markopolos had for the SEC. He said, "I gift-wrapped and delivered the largest Ponzi scheme in history, and somehow they couldn't be bothered." The Baltimore Sun splashes Michael Phelps all over its front page. After his pot-smoking moment in the spotlight, the Sun has an exclusive interview. The Olympic god says he is reconsidering whether he will compete in the 2012 London Games. Those coach says he doesn't foresee a Phelps retirement until after London. One other note, while we're in Maryland, it is number one in the nation in one measure of academic success. 23.4% of high school students there took advanced placement exams. The state has had a particular success in getting black students to write the tests, although the story notes there is still a lot of economic and racial disparity in these numbers. I don't know if you saw it yesterday, but it was quite the letter from Bruce Springsteen. On his website, he tore into Ticketmaster for its links to Tickets Now and the way they were selling Springsteen concert tickets. Tickets Now is basically a ticket scalping service. Springsteen says it is wrong for the company, meaning Ticketmaster, that's supposed to fairly sell tickets at face value, to have a piece of the action from a site that allows people to sell tickets for a markup. One of America's coldest cases is now red hot, according to the Chicago Sun-Times. Feds have a new lead linking longtime suspect James Lewis to the mysterious 1982 Tylenol killings. The feds say they have received new tips and have been able to generate new leads with the latest forensic technology. Yesterday was National Signing Day for high school football's best, seeking fame in the college ranks. The Alabama Crimson Tide won this year's recruiting game despite losing out on some mega prep stars to other schools. In the competitive Southeastern Conference, the school boasts the top spot in 2 of the leading recruiting tracker websites. Wall Street Journal, the story of 25-year-old Aussie bowler Jason Belmonte. He bowls with this odd-looking two-handed delivery, unconventional but remarkably effective, because it allows him to spin the ball in a way that knocks down the pins with what one observer calls destructive force. The website goop.com is your window, if you want a window, into Gwyneth Paltrow's world. I have to say this is a very slick website, but apparently it is the subject of much ridicule among young people who see her as being full of herself and trying to fashion herself as the next generation's Martha Stewart. The New York Post this morning says Gwyneth's blog updates are almost immediately reprinted with ridicule and derisive glee on other websites. Could you give up your fridge to save power? I could not, but some environmentalists are trying to do this. What does it take? The story says they believe the refrigerator is unnecessary as long as you're careful about your shopping choices and your overall food storage practices. Others, though, are questioning whether you're actually saving much energy if you end up wasting food or shopping more often.
And that's a look at just some of what's in the newspapers this morning. We try to pick the highlights for you each day, but if you think there's a particular story we should have included, send us a comment. You can do that at patspapers.com, and there you will find links to the individual newspaper websites where you can read these stories in their entirety.